Hey everyone, this is Schleicher from Gaming Trend and Tabletop Throwdown, and I'm here with Ryan Skinner from Passport Game Studios, and we're going to get an early look at a couple of games that they have releasing in a couple of months here. The first one that we have is called Skyward. So what's the objective here of Skyward?
So Skyward is an I Cut You Choose drafting game wherein each of the players takes on the role of someone trying to rebuild society into a new airborne city of Skyward. So using the I Cut You Choose mechanic, you have a deck of cards that will be, there'll be a certain number of cards dealt out each round. Whoever the warden is will be determined by some various mechanisms, and they are responsible for splitting up all the cards into piles equal to the number of players. So if there's 3 of us, you split everything into 3 piles that do not have to be equal, as well as assigning the warden token to one of those piles. So someone will become the warden each round. It's going to potentially change hands. After I split it up as the warden, the player to my left gets the first pick, the player to their left gets second pick, and I would get the final pile, whatever's left. So you're trying to split everything up so that everybody kind of gets something that they want, but mostly you want you to get what you want because it is a competitive game. The factions that are represented are these 4 kind of fictional groups in this world who are, like I said, trying to build this city, and you're trying to get influence over them, and that is represented through kind of this combo-style synergistic card play where the more of one type you get, they'll generally work well with each other and give you new effects and things like that. So, yeah, it's a nice, quick, light game. It's really easy to learn. Plays in about 40 minutes, 2 to 4 players. It'll be $25. We're releasing it early at Gen Con, so it'll be at Indianapolis at the show in limited quantities, and then it'll also hit retail a couple weeks after that in September. So.
Oh, yeah. The I Cut You Choose mechanic is not something that's being used too often, but it's starting to show up a tiny bit more.
Right. Yeah, it's one that I think a lot of people are picking up on, that it can be a lot of fun and finding new ways to kind of implement it and use it. Yeah, it's cool.
And, like make your own tableau and score from that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what you see here, it also, optionally, there are these playmats available that each player can have to hold their tableau. These will be available at Gen Con as well. We're still working out if we're going to have them at retail ourselves. But our partners Rule and Make will have them available on their website if nothing else. They're totally optional, but they do add a nice little flair to the game, of course. So
yeah, it's nice to kind of see where you should put your cards.
Right, exactly. So
great.
Yeah.
And now we're here to talk about a new game, and I don't remember quite the exact title other than there's time and evil in it or something.
That's right, it's the Evil Time game. This is Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time. It is a little bit of a mouthful, and I apologize, I don't have a visual to show you. We don't have the box with us just yet. This is componentry straight from the factory, because this is, as Keith mentioned before, a upcoming game that we're doing. So we don't quite have the finals yet, but yeah, Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time is a new cooperative game that we're doing with Funforge, who is the publisher of Takedo, among a variety of other games, and Hop as well, yeah. The designer of the game, it is a couple gentlemen whose names escape me, and I apologize to both the designers, but it's the gentleman who worked on Elysium a couple years ago. And they've done some other stuff as well. That's the one that most people immediately recognize, because it was a great game. But so, like I said, entirely new game that's all cooperative. The concept here is that all the players are needing to infiltrate the Citadel, which is the board that you saw there, wherein the evil professor has hidden away artifacts that he's stolen from traveling through time. And these are historic artifacts like an alien relic or Da Vinci's notebook, the Eiffel bracelet, and so forth. So some are fictional, some are actual historic things, but they're all, clearly things of some grandeur, some importance to them. And he's traveled through time and stolen them, and he's trying to lock them away forever. And of course, as the heroes that we are, we can't allow that to happen. So, as a team, we decide to infiltrate and sneak through the mansion and try to recollect and salvage these things before he can lock away too many of them. So that's kind of what's going on here. The way it'll work is that at the start of the game, in the Citadel, all of the different doorways you can see are set up with locked doors, which are indicated by the little black bars there. And then you randomly assign the different traps to the rooms, some of which will be actively turned on, some of which will be turned off. And those are things that you have to deal with or avoid as you're traversing the mansion. And then you assign a color to them. So each of the artifacts, for example, we have the Rosetta Stone here in the workshop, and it is assigned as the green color, and it has a value of 45. And that represents the amount of time it's going to take for the professor to move around the Citadel and capture it, which is represented by the clock in the middle of the board. So we would take the green matching token and we would set it at 45 minutes. The professor always starts at 12, and over the course of the game, the professor will move some amount of time around the clock, and occasionally the different colored artifact tokens will move counterclockwise towards the professor. And if at any point the professor gets to the artifact, then he has in fact locked it away, and it is taken off the board, and he's locked it, and we've lost the opportunity to save that one. A new artifact will come into play, and we'll have to try to get that one instead. But there's always 3 in play, so you have several choices to pick from as far as how you want to go about collecting them. The team wins if they collect 4 of the artifacts before the professor can lock away 4 of the artifacts. So that's the race against time that you're working against there. It uses some various dice mechanics to automate the professor, who not only is represented on the clock as moving around, but also has his own pawn, which is here. Oops. And the pawn will also move around the Citadel, and if he captures or catches any of the players in a room, he will rush them out the door and kick them out of the Citadel. He's not super mean, he's not that evil, he's just kind of evil light. So he just kicks you out of the Citadel, and then you have to infiltrate from another entrance. So instead of coming in through the gallery window, you might have to come around into the library window, or come through one of the other entrances to the Citadel, and that's going to change your strategy because now you have to go through different rooms, use different doors, avoid different traps, and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of the high-level overview of everything. All the players also do have, should mention, have their own deck of cards represented by their character. Each character has its own kind of special powers and themes that are represented by their cards. So you have Nathan Godspeed, the Master of Movements, so he can do some extra, movement abilities. You have the Lord of Gears. You have the Master of Time. Each of the different characters has a little bit of a different theme and power, so you can build your team accordingly. There's 5 different characters to choose from, and the game plays 2 to 4, so you've got a little room to wiggle with. And it never has really felt like, in the games I've played, it hasn't really felt like any one character is necessary. Like some other cooperative games with roles, sometimes it feels like you have to have this or you're just doomed. This one, it feels like you can succeed with any as long as you're clever enough to use your abilities right.
So, and you said 2 to 4 players?
2 to 4 players.
How long do games typically last?
Full games, usually about 30 to 45 minutes. We taught our staff, our volunteers here at the show, we taught them yesterday, and with teaching them and playing a whole game, it was not quite 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So it can go really quickly. It could run a little longer if people are really, thinking a lot, talking about things a lot, but with some brisk action, yeah, about 30 to 45 is pretty accurate. So.
And you said this will be available at Gen Con?
This will be available at Gen Con. It is actually a full release at Gen Con and retail the same week. It'll hit stores on, I think it's Friday the 18th or 19th, whatever it is at Gen Con there.
So those that can't make it to Gen Con
absolutely
feel slighted.
Right, yeah. They will be able to get it the same time as everyone else. So.
Okay, and what's it going to retail?
This, I believe, is going to retail at $40.
Cool.
So, yep.
Yeah, this looks very interesting, and I'm always a fan of cooperative games.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
I really am anxious to see how this all works, but it looks like it has some very neat mechanics for what's going on.
Yeah, very, very fun. So.
But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Keith.